There's always been yellow flags, and now there's some red flags. 31 million Americans, they're taking GLP-1 and they're losing weight all over the place. You see people walking around looking, different than you saw them the last time. A lot of them got like a hangdog look because they've lost so much body mass.
It says that very similar mechanisms could occur with Ozempic as with surgery.
Ozempic is a popular drug that's supposed to treat diabetes, but some are now using it to lose weight.
Right now, something unprecedented is happening across the entertainment industry. Some of the most famous faces in the world, people we've watched for decades, are changing so rapidly that their own audiences can't reconcile what they're seeing. GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro haven't just entered Hollywood. They've rewritten the rules of what celebrity transformation looks like. Some of these people have been completely transparent about it. Others have built entire PR narratives to avoid the conversation. And a few have gone strategically silent while the evidence builds itself. Before we get into this, if you're into deeply researched celebrity stories that go beyond the surface level, go ahead and subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to be here for what's coming. Ryan Seacrest. Ryan has been on American television more consistently than almost any living broadcaster. American Idol, New Year's Rockin' Eve, Live with Kelly and Ryan, and now Wheel of Fortune, meaning he's in living rooms 5 nights a week. That kind of exposure means there's nowhere to hide when something changes, and something has clearly changed. A July 2025 Instagram photo dump set off a wave of genuine concern. One commenter said he looks frail and hoped he was okay. Another flat out asked if he was sick. These weren't trolls. These were longtime fans who felt like they were looking at someone they didn't recognize. Here's what makes Seacrest's case so fascinating from an industry perspective. Complete airtight silence. He hasn't confirmed a thing. He hasn't denied a thing, nothing. Nicki Swift pointed to his transformation as one of the most striking examples of this entire cultural moment. And whether we're talking about GLP-1s, cosmetic intervention, or simply 20-plus years of high-definition television finally catching up to a man in his 50s, the Ryan Seacrest hosting Wheel of Fortune today bears almost no resemblance to the one who lit up that Idol stage. The silence hasn't answered any questions. It's only created more. Kelly Clarkson. Everyone remembers the moment Kelly Clarkson won the very first season of American Idol in 2002. That voice, that raw, unpolished emotion. She went on to dominate pop radio, Since You Been Gone, Stronger, and eventually transitioned into one of the most beloved daytime talk show hosts in the country. But here's the part of Kelly's story that often gets glossed over. For over 20 years, her weight was treated as public property by every tabloid in America. Through all of it, she never wavered. She stayed unapologetically herself. That consistency is what made her fan base so loyal. Then around 2023, the weight started coming off, and it kept going. Her face started looking noticeably different, enough that speculation absolutely exploded. Kelly confirmed she was taking a medication, but was very clear about one thing. It wasn't Ozempic. She told Whoopi Goldberg on her show that her doctor had been chasing her for 2 years because her blood work was alarming.
Everybody thinks it's Ozempic. It's not. It's something else. But it's something that aids in helping break down the sugar. Obviously, my doctor chased me for like 2 years, and I was like, no, I'm afraid of it.
She was pre-diabetic and finally listened. The medication helps break down sugar, something her body wasn't doing on its own. At her heaviest, she said she was around 203 pounds. She's lost roughly 60 since then.
What's like my heaviest? I was like 203.
Yeah.
And I'm 5'3.5".
What's worth noting is that Kelly's case is one of the few on this list where the medical justification is clear, documented, and specific. That distinction matters, even if the visual transformation is just as dramatic as everyone else's. Rebel Wilson. You can't talk about Pitch Perfect without talking about Fat Amy, and you can't talk about Fat Amy without talking about Rebel Wilson's size, because that was the entire foundation of the role. She was Bryn in Bridesmaids. She was the comedic anchor in everything she touched. And here's the part most people don't know. Her management team was reportedly so concerned about her initial weight loss journey that they actively tried to talk her out of it, because Fat Amy was a money-making machine, and a thinner Rebel Wilson threatened that entire revenue stream. Then 2020 came along, and Rebel called it her year of health. She overhauled everything. And she's been refreshingly open about using Ozempic and trying GLP-1 microdosing over the years. She told the New York Post in 2025 that losing weight actually made her more versatile as an actress, saying people suddenly saw her differently even though she had the same exact skills. But the changes in her face were visible enough that fans genuinely weren't ready for it. She said the whole journey was about figuring out why she was overeating. Whether you support her reasoning or find it complicated, the conversation around whether GLP-1s should be used indefinitely for maintenance, which is how Rebel frames her continued use, is one that doctors are actively debating right now because of cases exactly like hers. Jessica Simpson. Jessica has been publicly scrutinized for her body since she was 19 years old. The Chicken of the Sea era, the newlyweds tabloid frenzy, the 2009 paparazzi photo that media outlets tore apart for months, she's been through all of it. And she's been open about how damaging that scrutiny was. Her success story, building a fashion empire worth over $1 billion, is genuinely impressive regardless of anything else. After her third pregnancy, she reportedly reached 240 pounds. She lost 100 of them, and the transformation was staggering. But her face in recent years has sparked a whole separate conversation. Her features have lost their former fullness, and the overall contour is dramatically different from even 5 years ago. She's pushed back hard on GLP-1 speculation. On Bustle, she said, "Oh Lord, it is not Ozempic. It's willpower." She quit alcohol in 2017 and credits sobriety, walking 12,000 steps a day and working with a trainer. One commenter on a 2025 Instagram post said it doesn't even look like her anymore. But here's what's interesting and largely overlooked. Simpson admitted in her memoir to using stimulant-based diet pills during her pop star peak to stay slim. She's openly discussed cosmetic treatments like Morpheus 8. She's always been more willing to reach for a pharmacological or procedural tool than her current willpower-only messaging suggests. Whoopi Goldberg. Very few people on this planet can say they've won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. Whoopi Goldberg is one of them. The Color Purple, Ghost, Sister Act, decades holding court on The View. She is, by any measure, an institution. And because she's on live television 5 days a week, fans noticed the moment things started looking different. She got visibly thinner. The changes around her face and neck became harder to miss. One outlet listed her among celebrities showing signs of what they called Ozempic face. But here's why Whoopi stands apart from almost everyone else on this list. And it's important. She had absolutely no problem being upfront about it. On the Kelly Clarkson show in 2024, she joked that she'd lost the equivalent of almost 2 people.
Lost almost 2 people.
And confirmed she was using Mounjaro. No spin, no deflection, no carefully worded non-denial.
And one of the things that's helped me drop the weight is the, not Majolica. Mounjaro.
Just Whoopi being Whoopi. And from a cultural standpoint, that transparency matters enormously. Because she framed the medication as a medical tool for a woman in her senior years rather than a cosmetic shortcut, she largely bypassed the toxic discourse that's consumed everyone else on this list. The woman sitting at that View desk today looks noticeably different from the one fans remember, but the honesty around it has made all the difference in how people respond. Jonah Hill. In his documentary Stutz, Jonah Hill was refreshingly honest about what it felt like to have his body be a punchline for years. He said the media kept being brutal about his weight, and that it was just free game for anyone to go after. This is someone who went from lovable best friend in Superbad to earning 2 genuine Oscar nominations for Moneyball and The Wolf of Wall Street. His talent was never in question. But for years, the industry seemed more interested in his size than his range. So when his transformation started making headlines, people were genuinely rooting for him. But then the photos started circulating and the conversation shifted. His face changed noticeably. He's never confirmed GLP-1 use. What he has done is very publicly ask people to stop commenting entirely. In 2021, he posted on Instagram saying it's not helpful and doesn't feel good. He even called out the Daily Mail for publishing paparazzi photos without his consent. And look, that's completely fair. But the internet noticed that the silence landed at a very convenient moment, right when the questions about how he achieved the transformation were getting loudest. One person online put it bluntly, saying losing all that weight made him look really rough. Jonah drew a hard line, but hard lines don't stop the conversation. They just redirect it. Katy Perry. When Katy Perry dropped a song back in 2008, she was a fresh-faced 23-year-old with infectious energy and a voice that could fill any arena on the planet. The teenage dream era made her one of the biggest pop stars alive. Candy-colored, playful, totally unmistakable. That image wasn't accidental. It was a brand built meticulously over years. So when that image started shifting, when fans noticed her face looking so different from the fullness that defined her earlier years, the speculation kicked into overdrive. But here's what makes Katy's story completely different from everyone else on this list. At her 40th birthday party in 2024, according to The Standard, the gift bags given to guests included empty syringes, playfully labeled Ozempic KP. Let that sit for a second. That's not a denial. That's not a confirmation. information. That is someone who knows exactly what the public is saying, and instead of addressing it directly, turned it into an insider joke. A source close to her said she simply cut out processed food and alcohol, but you don't put fake Ozempic syringes in your party favors without knowing exactly what conversation you're inviting. One person on Reddit didn't hold back, writing that it's Ozempic face, it ages people instantly, and she looks unwell. Between the birthday stunt and the transformation, this one tells you more about how Hollywood manages the narrative than the narrative itself. Sharon Osbourne. Sharon Osbourne has never sugarcoated a single thing in her entire career, and that's exactly what makes her case so important. She built Ozfest from the ground up. She managed some of the biggest names in rock music. She became a reality TV legend through the Osbournes and spent years on the talk, saying whatever everyone else was thinking. So when it came to her weight loss, she did what she always does. She told the entire truth. No filter, no publicist cleanup.
You've lost some weight.
I have. I used to be 230 pounds. I've tried everything.
In 2023, Sharon showed up looking dramatically different, noticeably thinner. She told The Guardian in 2024 that she'd been injecting Ozempic.
And Kelly have been very out front about like Ozempic, using Ozempic, right? Or that people talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
Lost 3 stone in 4 months and called it too much. She now weighs about 7 stone, roughly 98 pounds, and says she can't put the weight back on. A source reportedly told Radar Online that this thing has wrecked her metabolism, and there's no going back. Sharon's been open about cosmetic work over the years, including facelifts and other procedures, but combining that surgical history with aggressive GLP-1 weight loss has created something that goes way beyond a makeover. It's become a genuine cautionary tale, and one of the most honest ones in this entire conversation. The fact that her daughter Kelly is also on this list makes them the only mother-daughter pair caught in this phenomenon. That detail alone says something about how deeply this runs. Kelly Osbourne. This is the entry that genuinely concerns me, not as entertainment commentary, but as a human story. Kelly Osbourne grew up on camera. When the Osbournes premiered on MTV in 2002, she was a purple-haired girl carrying more fame than most people ever experience in a lifetime. That show made her a household name overnight, and with that fame came decades of relentless public commentary about her appearance, starting before she was even old enough to understand what was happening. She's gotten increasingly slimmer over the years. She confirmed gastric sleeve surgery in 2018 and has been open about cosmetic treatments, including Botox and fillers.
I haven't done anything to my face other than a couple of injections in my lips, in my jaw, and in my forehead here.
But the more recent changes to her face are what have people genuinely alarmed. A 2026 Instagram post triggered real concern, with one commenter begging someone to help her and pleading with her to prioritize her health for the sake of her son. That's not gossip. That's genuine fear from complete strangers. When her father, Ozzy, had his tragic passing in 2025, the pressure got even heavier. In an Instagram video, she pushed back, saying her dad just passed and she's doing the best she can.
And I'm doing the best that I can.
She signed off telling her critics exactly where to go. What makes Kelly's case hit differently from anyone else on this list is the layering, the weight loss, the grief, the cosmetic history, a lifetime of scrutiny that started before she could process it. When fans look at her now and barely recognize her, they're reacting to the entire arc all at once. Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell has dealt with comments about her appearance for basically her entire career. She broke through in A League of Their Own, became America's favorite daytime host in the late 90s, and earned the nickname Queen of Nice. But that kindness was rarely returned when people talked about how she looked. What most people don't realize is how deeply and how privately that shaped her relationship with herself for decades. In 2023, she started her journey using Mounjaro and documented the whole thing on TikTok.
You know, I've lost more weight here. I am on Mounjaro for my diabetes. And
then in 2025, she posted an Instagram photo that genuinely stopped people in their tracks. The caption read, "I cannot believe this is me now," with hashtags for Mounjaro and weight loss. She told the Irish Times she'd carried shame about her appearance for 4 decades. She said she'd succeeded in every other area of her life, but could never figure out why she wasn't able to lose the weight. These days, Rosie seems to be in a much better place mentally, but the physical changes are visible. Her face shows the kind of differences that come with major weight loss, especially when someone begins the process later in life. What makes her case stand apart in this entire conversation is the rawness. She put every single piece of it out there, publicly, with no PR filter. That kind of transparency is incredibly rare in an industry built on controlling the narrative, and the remaining entries carry cultural weight that shifts everything. Khloé Kardashian. No family in modern entertainment has been more discussed or more scrutinized than the Kardashian-Jenner clan. And within that family, Khloé has arguably endured the roughest commentary about her appearance. For years, she was positioned by tabloids as the sister who didn't fit in. She's spoken about how deeply that affected her. When she started her transformation after her divorce from Lamar Odom, it felt deeply personal. Intense gym sessions, major lifestyle changes, she even built an entire show around it with Revenge Body. But the changes kept going, to the point where fans sometimes genuinely can't tell who they're looking at from one Instagram post to the next. She's confirmed one nose job. She's admitted to using filters, but she hasn't confirmed GLP-1 use, even though she's spoken in support of weight loss drugs, saying she thinks the judgment is ridiculous and adding she's just mad Ozempic wasn't around 10 years ago. Commenters on a 2025 post didn't hold back. One wrote, "Big head, little body." Another said, "Total Michael Jackson vibes." Here's the pattern the Kardashian family has established over and over again: deny, deflect, and then quietly confirm years later, once the public has moved on. Fans aren't just reacting to what Khloé looks like now, they're reacting to the credibility gap that her family has spent 2 decades building. And honestly, the next 3 names are the ones that shook me the most. Jonathan Van Ness. This one is complicated, and I think that's what makes it important. Jonathan Van Ness came out of nowhere. He was a hairstylist making hilarious Game of Thrones recaps for Funny or Die under the name Gay of Thrones. That landed him a spot on the Queer Eye reboot on Netflix, where his huge personality and signature flowing hair made him the breakout star of the entire show. His brand wasn't just entertainment, it was radical self-acceptance, loving yourself at any size. That message was the product. Then in 2025, he posted a TikTok that brought the entire internet to a standstill. He said he'd lost 70 pounds in the past year and that his body had never looked like this before. He explained that a health scare 2 years earlier led him to start a GLP-1 medication and that the weight loss was about feeling good, not about how he looked. 70 pounds in a single year. The visual difference was dramatic enough that fans felt like they were looking at a completely different person. Not everyone was supportive. One person on Reddit said they were so over people using these who don't need them, and compared it to the culture of the 2000s. That criticism taps into something deeper, and it's worth sitting with. When someone builds an entire platform on telling people their body is perfect as it is, and then dramatically changes their own, the audience isn't just reacting to the photos, they're processing what it means for the message. Oprah Winfrey. If there's one single person whose relationship with weight has defined an entire cultural conversation for 4 straight decades, it's Oprah. The wagon of fat she rolled onto her stage back in 1988, the Weight Watchers partnership, the yo-yo dieting, the very public shame. For longer than most people on this list have even been famous, Oprah's body has been the most discussed body in America. So when she confirmed in late 2023 that she was using a GLP-1 medication, it wasn't just celebrity news, it was a seismic cultural event. She told people it felt like relief, like redemption, like a gift. She hosted an ABC special about it. She stepped down from the Weight Watchers board. She wrote an entire book about the experience. Her transformation has been visible at every single appearance since. After a Paris Fashion Week moment in early 2026, a viral clip set off a wave of commentary. She clarified she simply couldn't see because she wasn't wearing her glasses. But here's what makes Oprah's position on this list so significant and so much bigger than celebrity gossip. She tried stopping the medication and gained 20 pounds back almost immediately. She went back on it and called it a lifetime commitment. The woman who spent decades telling America that willpower was the answer has now said publicly that willpower alone was never enough. That reversal isn't just personal, it's a fundamental shift in how the most influential media figure alive is framing weight, agency, and medicine. That might be more transformative than anything that's happened to her face, Adele. And then there's Adele, the voice that literally stopped the entire world. Rolling in the deep, someone like you. Hello, 16 Grammys. For the first decade of her career, her image was beautifully, refreshingly uncomplicated. A woman with an extraordinary gift, who looked like she couldn't have cared less about what Hollywood expected her to be. That authenticity wasn't just appreciated, it was the foundation of everything her audience loved about her. Then came the divorce from Simon Konecki in 2019. And then came the transformation. Around 100 pounds, gone. The face the world fell in love with looked completely different. Her cheeks lost their familiar fullness. Her jawline became noticeably more defined. Side-by-side photos went viral across the entire globe. Plastic surgeon Dr. Ramtin Kassir told Page 6 that while it could be her natural structure revealed after weight loss, the result looked so clean that additional help wouldn't be surprising. Adele has denied using Ozempic or any weight loss medication. She told British Vogue in 2021 that it was never about losing weight. It was about becoming strong. She said she used to cry, but now she sweats. Her case sits in a genuinely unique space because her transformation may actually predate mainstream GLP-1 adoption entirely. But that hasn't stopped her from appearing in virtually every Ozempic face conversation since. And that's the thing about this entire phenomenon. Once the narrative exists, it attaches to anyone who changes. The face becomes the evidence, and the court of public opinion never waits for proof. And that is what's unfolding across Hollywood right now. Some of these people have been completely transparent about using GLP-1 medications. Others have denied it without hesitation, and some have said absolutely nothing. While the speculation built a case of its own, but the pattern is impossible to ignore. Faces we've known for years, faces we literally grew up watching, are changing in ways that catch people completely off guard. What makes this moment different from every other Hollywood weight loss era is the speed. These stuff produce results so fast that the body simply can't keep pace. Features shift, proportions change, and suddenly, the person standing in front of the camera doesn't quite match the person living in our memory. Whether you see this as a medical revolution, a cautionary tale, or something far more complicated, probably depends on which side of the before and after you're standing on. If this one got you, hit subscribe, because we've got so much more coming.